from that point though, because one of the reasons that I wanted to have you on was, um, I do see your activity on social media. You do post about, the Black Lives Matter movement, uh, and the kind of shifts that we're seeing in American society here in the United States. But at the same time, and I've noticed for years now, um, you have taken on also, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems that you are active as well in the movement for justice in Palestine.
Yeah.
And what kind of led you there, in addition to identifying, I guess, politically, socially as an African American, but also then to find the international solidarity as well?
Yeah, I would say just learning the history of how Palestine became Palestine. I remember I was reading a book.
How Palestine was denied.
Denied,
And
yeah.
just to be a little more accurate.
No, I understand. You mean denied by
denied by the United
Israel?
States, denied by Israel, denied, like as the nationhood is, or the statehood, because
Well,
the nation exists.
No, well, it does. It's just I'm starting from the point of when it was a colony, in a British colony at the time.
Okay, yeah. Go ahead.
So I was reading a book about World War One and World War Two, how the British, it was a protectorate at the time, and then the British were looking for allies, and there were some factions in London who were looking, Zionists. They were looking to establish a territory for the Jews. They were looking into South Africa and other parts where the British were, and they settled on Palestine. And just what it took, you have people who were already there on their own land, and then all this,
Sure, and you're absolutely right in describing the history. I like to kind of dig and see the personal. Why, in particular, why do you have an affinity towards it? Was it conversations with friends? Was it,
well, yeah, that's part of the history. It's just learning of that part of history.
Yeah.
And then discussing it. It's interesting having discussions with, do you remember Hadi at Trinity College?
I know of him. We weren't there at the same time. I think I had graduated.
Really?
Yeah, because there were only a few Arabs.
I think he was there with you. He was there with us at the time. He was younger than we are, but he was there. I think he's I think he might be Jordanian or Lebanese.
I would have known if there was another Jordanian on campus. There was like just me and my brother, I know, but
yeah.
But I heard of him because I was still friends with a lot of people on campus.
Okay.
But yeah, tell me your conversations with him.
Yeah, so he and I will have discussions about Palestine, and he was very adamant. And then I wanted to learn more about it, so I decided to learn more about the history, the background. So reading those books, but also later on reading Noam Chomsky as well, and then discussion with Professor Williams, but I'm also interested in U.S. foreign policy, and you look at how it hasn't been fair, how the way the U.S. is supposed to be how they say an impartial broker, but it has not been an impartial broker. You know what I mean? And just the indecency that Palestinians suffer when you read stories about they have to go to different checkpoints just to see a doctor, and you don't have access to your own maritime territory. You need to get permission to fish, things like that. And then you look at the history of America being a settler country with the Native Americans, how they're breaking them up into little settlements. and it looks like it's the same thing going on with Palestine. And when people talk about it, people say that you're anti-Semite, and the whole thing is like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, the facts are there, you know.
I'm so glad you mentioned the Native Americans, because I've been saying this for years now, but you know what Benjamin Netanyahu, and not just him, but his predecessors as well, what they've been doing with the West Bank, and how they've been kind of sectioning the Palestinian people off from each other and creating these settlements where they're economically just devastated, and agriculturally, everything. They're following, again, I said the American model, in terms of how you mentioned the Americans went to occupied Haiti and started, you know, spreading this myth that light-skinned Haitians were the elites or whatever. That's the American model. Well, what they're doing in Palestine and the West Bank is very much the American model of how to devastate a people, and they're looking exactly at what the Americans did to the Native American, not the American, what European settlers, because let's be clear, what European settlers did to Native Americans in this territory.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, it feels like Palestinians, they don't have many friends. The Egyptians say they're their friends, but then the blockade that's being maintained there, it's both by the Egyptians and the Israelis. So, you see what I mean? And the Saudis, they say they're supportive of the Palestinians, but are they really?
Not.
They're not.
Absolutely not. They maintain in Saudi society, it's all bullshit. They like in school maps in Saudi Arabia, they don't have Israel, they write Palestine, but
Right.
that's it. There's no actual solidarity with the Palestinian people, because I mean they could shift their weight. They could easily shift leverage against the Americans, against Israelis, against the Turks, in many different ways, in order to broker a deal that favors the Palestinians. So you're absolutely right, and I'll criticize my people, the Jordanians as well, and Lebanese as well, have not really been friends to the Palestinians.
Yeah.
Jordanians a little bit, but that's because they have to cater to a wealthy Palestinian population within their own country. But
they do have refugees, right? They do have refugees in Jordan.
They have refugees, but really the Palestinian population in Jordan, they're pretty well to do. You know what? I mean, I could be wrong, but I mean, like, there's so many like government officials who are Palestinian. The Queen of Jordan is Palestinian. So, but it's all kind of, it kind of mirrors the idea of like Barack Obama as president. Black faces in high places, but like, what's it actually doing?
What's it really doing?
You know what I mean?
Same criticism Cornell has of the whole idea of when people say we need Black people in certain high places. Yeah, we understand, but are they really going to change?
Thanks for tuning into another clip of Johnny's Jabs. If you liked what you just saw, please be sure to share this with your family and friends and comment below. And if you want to get more content like this, it's easy. Just click the bell below to subscribe. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Johnny Jabor. I'll catch you guys next.